All right, Sarah, coach is going to come sit down right now so you can be ready to record, and we'll get rolling with Ron first.
Sounds good.
Recording in progress.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
What's up, Ron?
So I apologize if this kind of skirts the line of getting too close to giving away stuff schematically, but I've noticed in the last two games, you guys have played a lot of 6 defensive back sets. Does that kind of speak to what you guys see as the strength of your defense, or just talk me through what went into that decision?
Well, just the personnels and formations we've seen the last couple of weeks. More spread, 4 wide situations, and especially last week with the splits we were dealing with. We need more DBs on the field, just from the standpoint of a lot of those wide receiver splits were on the sideline, and being able to cover guys on the perimeter and be able to, cover all 53 of the field, the width of the field. So, we've got some different packages that will be able to match certain personnels that offenses are giving us, and things that we've got to be able to, not only match the right and have the right personnel on the field, but be able to play the right schemes.
And we saw several freshmen make their debuts over the weekend. In particular, defensive tackle Ahmed Hassani. I apologize if I'm butchering that name, but what stands out about him on the field?
He's physically ahead, for a freshman. He came in very strong. He's continued to improve his strength and his understanding of the fundamentals and techniques, and obviously the schemes. So he's a young man that, like most of the freshmen, we got off to a slow start because of some protocols, but we've been able to really get him going in the last 3 weeks here. And last week was a huge week for him, and he stepped up and he did some really good things. Obviously, we got to continue to get him more familiar with some certain pieces of the defense, but he did a really, really good job for his first time in there, and he's physically capable of handling himself, Ron. He's pretty dang strong for a freshman.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks.
How's it going, Andy?
What's up, Jay?
I know that we'll talk with Tim here in just a little bit, but they made a pretty big deal about it on the broadcast that he moved down to the sidelines for that game to call the game. So what went into that? I mean, obviously you were part of that decision. So what went into that? And they also continue to say that the players really wanted that to happen, to have Tim move down to the sideline. I just taking the broadcast for their word, but what can you tell us about all that?
Well, I mean, it was just, again, we're trying to evaluate coming out of the previous week, and as we will this week, just where can we get better? How can we be more efficient as a staff? What can we improve on? And, that was something that, Coach Plough and I had spoken about on Sunday, the previous week, just going through how we can be better, how we can be more efficient during the course of the game, and tossing some ideas back and forth. And then the players, the players came to us on Monday after our walkthrough and stuff, and, brought it up in discussion. They wanted him on the field. They believe in him. They want him down there in the middle of it, in the fight with them, and to be able to, he's got the answers. He understands. And I thought it was awesome that the players felt the same way, actually, that, Plough and I had been having some discussions the night before. So the players answered the question for us. And of course, that's the adjustment we made. And, it was awesome to have him on the sideline on Saturday, and to be able for him to be in person with not only the quarterbacks, but the rest of the players that, he would need to get with, and make certain adjustments based off of what's going on in the game.
When it comes to Davis Cutter, I know we talked to you about you a little bit before or whatever, but when did you decide that you wanted to, reach out to him and try to get him to come to Boise State? 'Cause I know he was close to going to Missouri. And then you talk about the brotherhood and stuff. I mean, the Cutter family, it's pretty unique. They got a dad and a son in that thing. How cool is all that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the timing kind of all worked out, just as we were coming here way back in January, where he was trying to figure out, his situation and where he was going to go from his last school. And the timing worked out perfect, and he ended up, he wanted to be a Bronco all along. And so given the situation and being able to make that happen, that was a no-brainer for us, with our new staff. And, in particular, for me, knowing him and knowing, his father, his father's who recruited me and gave me my opportunity to come here. And so it was a no-brainer situation. And he wanted to be a Bronco dad. Like I said, he wanted to be a Bronco from the beginning. So he's done a tremendous job on special teams and what he brings to the team, and in terms of his effort in all areas, and not just on offense.
Thank you, Andy.
Hey, Andy, how's it going?
What's up, BJ?
Hey, not much. Hey, with the defense, I think you guys have only given up 5 touchdowns and 14 red zone trips. And I think like 6 times in the red zone teams have come away with nothing. I mean, I know they had a lot of yards in the last game, but not many points. I mean, how big is that, what you guys have been doing in the red zone, and how important will that continue to be moving forward defensively?
Yeah, we got to improve our discipline with certain techniques and more particular our communication and eye control, so that we keep ourselves out of being down there so much. But, it's always been our mentality here. We got to fight when we get down there. We got to lock in, and our backs against the wall. And we spend a lot of time game planning and researching the things that we need to do down there to be successful. And it's always a huge part of the game, whether on either side of the ball in the red zone. And so it's a huge emphasis. We got to continue to be efficient and effective down there. But more importantly too, like, we limit our situations and the amount of times we're down in there. That's going to be a huge to-do this week.
Well, that was kind of my second question. I mean, it still seems like the explosive plays at times have been an issue on defense. And obviously you're playing a very explosive offense in Nevada with some of their receivers and with what Strong can do. How key is that, I guess, to try to limit the explosive plays?
Yeah, no question. And it's everybody on the field, and it's everybody on the field, but it starts with us too, as coaches, make sure that we're refining what we're doing in terms of the fundamentals and the technique up front that help, whether it be in the run game or the pass game. And then obviously our coverage techniques and being able to communicate, make sure we're on the same page within each coverage and executing the techniques, with our eyes and our feet, and making sure we got proper leverage.
Thank you.
Rick, Will, and Mike.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time today. Can you talk to us a little bit about the running game? I know you guys were pretty creative this week. That included Hank running quite a bit. Could you talk to us about your satisfaction with the run game so far?
Yeah, again, it's always about evaluating, finding out what we do best and where we can improve on things and what fits us. And so we were able to have multiple ball carriers, guys that carried the ball this week. There was upwards of, 8, 9 guys that carried the ball. And, one of them being Hank and making the box respect his number as a run. And, well, we can all see that wasn't happening before. And so we were able to get some yards on the ground by, allowing Hank to make some reads and some keeps. And that's going to keep people from, chasing down the backs from the edges and things like that. And whether that's getting the ball on the perimeter for the wide receivers, in sweeps and things like that, we just got to be able to keep changing it up and give different pictures and, but still be able to get the ball in our best running backs' hands, and make sure that they're getting their touches as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Andy, what stands out to you about Nevada quarterback Carson Strong?
A whole lot. I mean, he's one of the top quarterbacks there is. I mean, his accuracy, of course, he's got arm strength. He's one of the top quarterbacks in college football, but his accuracy, he's on point, he's on schedule, he's on time. That ball is out, whether it's intermediate, underneath routes, his accuracy on those routes is on, whether it's man coverage, zone coverage. The deep balls, he throws the outside 9 balls extremely well. I mean, he's got some weapons out on the perimeter. He's got some weapons all throughout the wide receiver core. And, but ultimately, he is extremely, extremely accurate and stays on time, within the passing game.
How important is John Ojukwu to the offensive success, and how would you describe his work ethic on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, John's a leader, an example for the whole team, the coaches included. I mean, how that guy comes here every single day, and his urgency and his purpose is something different. And however long he gets to play this game, he wants to be a strength coach when he's done, and he's going to make one heck of a strength coach whenever that is that he's done playing this game, because he's wired different in a way that it allows him to separate himself from a lot of other people. And so, he is he's done an awesome job on the offensive line and trying to create some consistency on his side and making sure that, throughout the whole offensive line, the urgency and how we prepare and how we practice is a certain standard. He's been very instrumental in making sure that we're growing in that direction.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy, from day one until right now, what's the number one area where you think that this football team has improved?
Well, I think the number one area, without a doubt, behind the scenes, I mean, you guys, is difficult. It's not something that's visible to you guys. Maybe it is in certain areas because of the areas we've grown on game day, but it's really the prep and understanding how to practice with urgency, and that starts with how we get here in the mornings. And how we operate in meetings so that we're efficient on the field, so we know what's going on and we know what we're doing. Last couple of weeks we've made huge strides, and we've got to continue to do that this week. And today was a great start to this week. The guys were awesome this morning in our meetings and our walkthrough practice today. And that's really it. Mike, is the work is done, Sunday through Friday, and then it's time. Then we're able to go cut it loose. We've again, a lot of things that didn't come up in camp, with some of this COVID protocol where we got put behind. It may not be shown on the field totally, Mike, but behind the scenes, seeing overall where, some spots we don't have a ton of depth, but guys are developing and the mentality is being built up front, again, because of some COVID protocols we got behind in camp for the majority of camp and into the beginning of the season. But it actually, the way the travel guys and the scout team guys are developing and coming along now that we have a little bit more depth, it's been really cool to see. Now we've got to keep improving in those areas. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do there still.
You addressed the explosive plays that are happening on defense against your defense earlier. Tackling, where does tackling fit into that? From my untrained, non-professional coach's eye, it seems like tackling is a little bit of an issue right now. Guys coming in high, guys trying to arm tackle. From your perspective and your background, is tackling an issue right now?
We need to do a much better job wrapping. We're not wrapping. We're trying to just knock guys down, and especially in the open field, we've got to be able to accelerate and punch and clamp and roll and take a runner, a ball carrier's motors from him in terms of his legs. And we've got to keep repping that and drilling that within, controlled settings. We don't tackle the ground in practice, but we've got to make sure that we get our fits in practice and make sure that we're getting ourselves into position to finish that practice. And when we get into some wrap periods, we know we got to take full advantage of those. And then in the controlled settings, be able to, practice taking guys to the ground.
We over here at the radio station have decided that this is the perfect week in the history of college football for Boise State. You're coming off a win. You're playing a rival. It's a 1:30 Saturday afternoon game. It's supposed to be beautiful. They're going to sell beer in the stadium. I mean, it's everything. Every box seems like it's checked. What's your idea of a perfect college football Saturday?
It's been a long time since we've had a 1:30, Mike. You know that. Back in the day, it was, hey, November hit, late October, and it was 1:30 all the time, right? So we got an unbelievable challenge, this weekend, and we're focused on that. Obviously, the setting for the fans and all that stuff and everything that comes with it is going to make it an unbelievable game day atmosphere. But ultimately, to be honest with you, Mike, I haven't thought one bit about what you just asked me. I'm focused on, we got one of the best quarterbacks in the nation coming in here, and he's got a wide receiver core that is elite, and they got a defense that is doing some really good things. Some things that we got to prepare for.
Andy, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Bob, Matt, and then Paul J.
Coach, compare Strong with Josh Allen. I mean, a lot of people think he's maybe the next Mountain West quarterback that's going to get taken. You schemed against him. You played against him. How are they similar? How are they different?
I don't know. I mean, Strong operates out of the spread primarily, obviously. I mean, that's all he operates out of. So is he capable of working out of the pro style? I'm sure he is. But his ability to work through progressions from the spread standpoint is different. It is elite. It's different than even from what in my experience, looking at Josh when we were game planning against him and whatnot. It's his ability to stay on track, understand defenses, and get the ball out and be very accurate. You know, like we said, he's got some wide receivers that are some weapons, and a tight end that runs like a wide receiver, but is, got unbelievable length and size.
Much like Utah State, Boise State, and Nevada have been in multiple leagues with one another. When you think of the Boise State-Nevada rivalry, what do you think of?
Yeah, it goes back. This goes way back. Even years and years, obviously, decades before my experience at Boise State, and what it, coming to Boise State, it was made clear that this is a huge game, for Boise State every year, and the rivalries that date back to probably even, when I was 5 years old. It's a regional game, but there's a lot of history that goes into it, and there's obviously been a bunch of unbelievable contests and battles between the two teams.
Thanks, Coach.
Matt?
Yeah. Hey, Coach. This is Matt Sizemore with Channel 6. I just had a couple questions for you about Hispanic Heritage Month. And, of course, I'm sure you're aware, you're one of only 7 Hispanic head coaches in Division I football going into the season. So incredibly broad question. What does that mean to you?
Just very blessed for the opportunities that I've had, over the course of my career altogether, for all the people that, whether it be coaches or players, teammates that have had an influence and helping myself grow and not only me, but my family, and been very blessed to be a part of this game, this game that we all love, college football. I mean, that brings us all together here, and for a lot of us has become our careers, even for the media, this is the biggest part of what you guys do and what you cover. And for all of us to work together and be a part of it, we should all be grateful, and so for me, in particular to my heritage and, being a minority in the game, it's, I just hope that it provides an example that, people can achieve whatever they set their mind to, if they put their mind to it and they have purpose and they set out a plan and they stick to that plan, that they can achieve things that may even seem impossible.
Gotcha. That's a perfect segue right there. What would almost 40-year-old head coach of Boise State football, Andy Avalos, tell, say, a young 9 or 10-year-old Andy Avalos growing up in Corona, California, about the things he can achieve and barriers he could break in the future?
You know what? Just to trust yourself and surround yourself with the right people, and again, I think it's something different when you learn to compete, that no matter what it is you're going into, whether it's me or anybody else, you've got to learn how to compete from within first, and what you create inside, and how you strengthen your mind and commitment to what it is that you're trying to get done, and your relentless pursuit of trying to learn and grow. I think those are the things that are important for any young man, whether it's a child who's 9 to 10, someone who's 15 to 16, 25, or, myself about to turn 40 years old. That never changes, right? I mean, it's always about the relentless pursuit to continue to grow and find ways to improve.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Coach, Paul J., high snaps. Well, what about high snaps? What causes them? What can you do about them?
Well, that was there were some very scary moments there in the game, Paul J. Hank didn't panic though. He handled some of those snaps, and we were off in the pre-snap on a couple of those. I mean, obviously the ball was snapped when it wasn't supposed to be snapped, but there were some very inaccurate snaps as well. And so we've got to, number one, it starts with our stance and our footwork, and when we're snapping. So we've got to analyze that and look and make sure that we're putting our guys in comfortable positions, or we're, adjusting certain things in our stance or how we're snapping the ball to make sure that we can clean up this accuracy. Cause a couple of those snaps did get us off our timing in the pre-snap when there were, some big play opportunities available.
So you're not just getting ready for Taylor Green, right?
Say it again.
You're not just getting ready for Taylor Green, who's 6'6".
Because they're so high. I got you. Yeah.
We saw him for one snap. We're going to see him more as the season goes on?
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's something that, again, if I tell you, Paul J, then I'm telling everybody else. So we'll have to see. He's very capable of doing a lot of different stuff. We got to work on his route, though, in the corner of the end zone. He kind of got jammed up a little.
What does Nevada bring to the table defensively?
Well, they're going to be a four-man front structure for the most part from what they've done this season. Now they're coming off a bye week, right? So they can adjust and do some things differently. But they're going to play some cover four, and they are going to bring some pressures, some similar schemes that we saw last week, coverage structure wise and pressure wise. So we're going to have to be able to protect the quarterback with some of these 6-man pressures that they're going to bring. They will play. They've shown to play some match defense as well, some 3-match defense.
The bye week an advantage for them?
I think anytime you have a bye week, it gives you an opportunity not only to focus on the next opponent, but more importantly, self-scout yourself. So I don't know. I'm sure they've used the time wisely. They got an unbelievable coaching staff and what they've done and how they built that program. So, yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, what are your self-scout philosophies? Is this something you guys do every week, or do you pick kind of the opponent that you think you need to do that in preparation for? Again, what's your self-scout philosophy?
We self-scout after every game. We not only self-scout what we did in the game, obviously, and the things we got to improve on, but overall, collectively, the whole picture, how that lines up with the rest of the season. It's not just a game deal. You got to look at patterns that you've created over the course of the year and or things that, may have not just showed up in a particular game, but actually were visible in previous games.
What was the best thing for you as a head coach about having your OC, Tim Plough, joining you on the sidelines?
Just to be able to see his interaction with the players, to be able to make adjustments up and down the bench. With all positions in person. One of the other thing that was huge is, the huddle as we're getting ready to take the field, these TV timeouts, when we're there huddled up, and to be able to see the information that he's delivering to the offense, whether it be situationally where we're at on the field, reminders of what the defense is, has done in those certain field zones, some of the things that he may want to get to on a particular drive. I mean, there's just the amount of information that he has, and he's a very intelligent coach. And it was something that we want to continue to build on is, he is on the sideline now.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we can go back through for follow-ups. So let's go BJ, Jay, and then Ron.
Hey, Andy, we talk so much about JL Skinner, and obviously leads the Mountain West in tackles and is having a heck of a year, but how, it's not always the best, is it, for a safety to lead your team in tackles? I mean, I know he's making a lot of plays, but is there a give and take there too, which means that maybe the D-line or the linebackers are missing some of those?
Yeah, we talked about that last week, right? I mean, yeah, we got to do a better job at the line of scrimmage than we did with our fundamentals and technique. That's going to continue to pay off. How, we're playing within the run game. Last week we played a box for the majority of the game, a 5-man box, given the splits and all those things that we were having to deal with. So naturally the safeties are going to have to clean up a little here and there. But in this defense for the last 10 to 12 years, the boundary safeties made 100 tackles if it's the same guy that's played all year. And that's no discredit to JL. JL is doing an unbelievable job. There's a lot of things that JL has got to get better at so that we could clean up some of these explosive plays as a leader back there, especially the communication and the eye control. But JL has done a tremendous job flying around the field. And I think that's probably more so he's not just making the plays that come to his fit. He's making other plays around the field because of how relentlessly he's playing.
Andy, you guys have played your final game of September, which means your next game is going to be in October. How do things kind of start to shift once you hit this time of year? I mean, you've obviously stacked a few games on top of each other already, so bodies are probably sore, all that. You're a few weeks away from your bye. You got BYU around the corner, all that stuff. How do the things kind of shift once you get into the month of October?
Yeah, I think we're we found our stride. I don't know that things shift right now, Jay. I'm not sure what you're looking for with your question, but yeah.
Maybe not the best proposed question, but thanks.
Hey, hit me with that like in November, and that's typically when we're probably going to the phase that you're talking about. But right now in October, I don't know that a team in America or anyone that I've ever been involved with where things change already in October. You know,
right.
Like we spoke about, because of some COVID protocols early on in fall camp, we got to a late start with a lot of players, and now we're finally in the groove of things. And we had our best week of practice last week, and we intend to match that this week with some urgency and the tempo that our scout team plays with and how we compete at practice this week.
Thanks, Andy.
Sorry.
Andy, you talked earlier about Hank running the ball, and obviously he showed he can be a threat with his legs in this offense, but he's obviously a guy that you really can't do without either, right? I mean, how much do you want him running the ball?
I think the amount where, you know, it's enough to make sure that teams got to respect that, Ron, that he can do that. And I think he proved that. I think he proved that he can run the ball. And, you know, we don't need Hank to run the ball 10 times a game by any means. But there's certain situations where, again, if we're not doing that, then the edge players are chasing down the line, running after the running backs, and his numbers not being accounted for. So that was a huge part of even what got some things going later on in the second half, where that defense last week had to start respecting it a little bit more on the edge, and it created a little bit more up inside. Now I know, you know, a run got called back for a penalty or whatever, but we had some nice runs there, you know, later on in that game.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, Andy.
Recording stopped.
We'll start Ron, Jay, BJ again.
Hey, has anybody heard the BYU official kickoff time?
1:30.
It is 1:30. Nice. Thank you, Ron.
From.
Recording in progress.
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
So, guys.
So I just asked Andy the same question. Hank showed that he can be a threat with his legs on Saturday, but he's obviously a guy that you can't do without. You don't want him taking too many hits. How much do you want him running the ball in this offense?
I mean, I think if they're going to load the box with extra people, you're in the shotgun, you know, you're going to have to show that the quarterback is willing to run, you know, but, you know, my theory on that's always been we want him to be a runner, but not the runner, you know, so hopefully we can just use him in ways to keep the defense honest. But he's got to also protect himself. That's part of the deal. I mean, he's got to be able to get a bounce, slide. I thought he did a pretty good job of those things last week.
You guys got a lot of guys involved in the running game on Saturday, found some creative ways to get rushing yards. I'm curious, is that sustainable, or in this offense, do you need rushing yardage the traditional way?
That's a good question. I mean, I think my first answer would be like, you know, yards are yards, right? Like, does it really matter where they come from? That'd be probably more of a question for you guys. But, Yeah, I think we all would love to be able to, line up under center and do it the old school way. And, with the style we're in right now offensively and what we're doing, I think that it's all hands on deck. And, whatever we can do to gain consistent run yardage is what we're going to do going forward. And if that's the, as you guys would put it, the traditional way, then we'll do it that way. And if it's, getting guys, the ball, we'll do it whatever we can to get running yards and keep the offense balanced. That's what we're going to try and do.
And I'm curious, in terms of an air raid offense, it certainly seems like you guys have the personnel to throw the ball 50 or 60 times a game. But I believe your quote last week was, "That's not championship football." Why is it not championship football?
I mean, I just think if you look at the history of college football and you look at the teams that have won national championships and consistently been in championship games, and at the end of the year, you're going to need to run the ball to win football games. You can throw the ball to score points, but you're going to need to run the ball to win games. And I think that's something we try to balance all the time. We have a talented receiver group and a good quarterback, and we could throw it 50, 60 times a game, and that'd be fun. But I think too much of anything can be a bad thing, right? I mean, you got to find some balance and some capacity. And I think you look at guys like Lincoln Riley that came from an air raid system but got to Oklahoma, and you think of the success he's had. He's really developed a really good run game in his offense, and that's, I think, what separated him maybe from that tree a little bit. So obviously the air raid system is an extremely successful system and one that puts up a lot of points and a lot of yards. So by no means am I saying that I don't think it's a good brand of football, but I just think if you look at the traditional years and years and years of teams that have won the national championship, usually they're going to have some semblance of a running game.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thanks, Ron.
How we doing, Tim?
What's up, Jay?
Tim, could you kind of explain the decision that took you out of the booth and down to the sideline to call the game? And it sounds like the players were very influential in making that happen.
I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, Jay, but Coach Avalos, he meets with the leadership group every week and just they talk about a lot of things that are going on with the program. And I think that, he just asked, everyone kind of, hey, what are the thoughts going forward? What are some things we can improve? And at that moment, I think a lot of the offensive guys just brought up that they really wanted me to come on the field for various reasons. And so he came into my office shortly after that and said, hey, I got really good news. The players really care about you. And they said they love you and they want you to be on the field with them. So we're going to make that switch. And like I told the guys after the game, it was a meaningful moment for me, just being a new guy in town, trying to earn the trust of the players. Hearing that last week definitely gave me a boost of energy and wanting to be down there with those guys. So it was a cool moment for me for sure.
Do you like calling a game from the sideline? And did you have, a different set of eyes in the skies relaying, whatever you wanted to see from above to you? Because, it's obviously, different than calling the game from above.
Yeah, I've always called the game from the field. So for the last 10 years, I've always been calling the game from the field. And but we also didn't have as much help at the FCS level as we have here. So some of the reasons for being on the field back then was we just didn't have a lot of assistants and a lot of grad assistants and quality control coaches. We just didn't have those guys. So I was always on the field so I could communicate with the quarterback and I could communicate with the offense. But when we got here, we had a lot more help, and we had talked as a staff and made the decision for me to go up in the booth. And I think when you're up in the booth, you obviously can see everything a lot easier, but you lose, I think, just the feeling of just the energy and the vibe of the team. And sometimes when you're on the sideline, you got a better feel for how guys are feeling, where their confidence level's at. I can have direct communication with everybody in the offense. And we're all learning the offense still together, right? Players and some of the assistants. So I think some of the arguments from the players was just, I obviously know the offense and I can make those adjustments quickly and get that communicated to them, one-on-one. And I think that was something that they really felt like would help. So.
When it comes to a guy like Davis Cutter, that there are guys on your roster that probably know more about football than other guys on your roster. Where does Davis kind of, rank in terms of his knowledge of the game? And do you think one day that, once his playing days are done, he might be make a successful coach?
I definitely think his football IQ's at the top there with all the guys. I've become, pretty close with his dad too, just being in town. He's been someone that'll shoot me text messages and we'll talk after games and stuff. And most of the time when I meet, kids of coaches, the first thing they say is there's no way I'm going to be a coach, because you know how much time you've been away from your dad, when you were watching your dad coach. But if he wants to be a coach, I think he'd be extremely successful. But I always tell the players, I hope you can find something to do before coaching, because there's a lot more things you can do that maybe get you around your family a little bit more and those kind of things. But if he wanted to go down that road, he'd be tremendous.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. All right, Jay.
How's it going, Tim?
What's up, EJ?
Hey, 16 in a row. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, man. Dang. Oh, it's been a rough couple of weeks, BJ, but enjoy it. We'll be back. We'll get some things ironed out there.
It'll probably be all for not one game and we'll be done. So I'm trying to enjoy it now while I can.
Do you want the Dodgers or do you want the Giants in the one game playoff?
Well, I don't want to waste everyone's time, but I will quickly say I would rather
Dodgers or the Giants, not the Cardinals.
I would rather play the Dodgers in the one game, because in a 5-game series, we have a much better chance of beating the Giants.
See, that's what I told Rid. I was like, you got to play the Dodgers in the one game and just go all in. Try to beat Scherzer, and if you can, then you got a shot, because you're not going to beat him in 5 games.
If you told me one game, Wainwright versus Scherzer, to move on, I'd take my chances. So
throw the old man on the mound and see what he has.
I'd rather not deal with the other guys for 5 games. Hey, you told me and Ron after the game just how proud that made you, but why was that? And what was that moment like when you found out that, and just why did it make you so proud that in terms of that they wanted you to do that?
I think for me, coaching goes far beyond how many points you score and how many games you win. Like I've told you guys before, I'm going to be judged by you guys on wins and losses and how many rushing yards we have and all that every week. Right. And that's cool. But I really judge myself as what kind of relationships can I build with the players, and can those relationships be meaningful, and can I help them become better men? And being a newer coach here, a newer guy on the staff at a successful program, I just really wanted to build relationships. And I felt like that moment for me was important, because I felt like it showed that I had developed relationships with the players, and they wanted me to be on the field with them to share those emotions within the game. And so I think just as a coach, that's a check in the box, like, okay, we're doing some things right. Maybe we're not running the ball as well as everybody wants, or we're not scoring as many points as everybody wants. But the players see how much I care about them. And I think if we can do that and we care about each other, then we can accomplish anything as long as we keep working hard.
How do you evaluate production? I know I called it mop-up duty a few weeks ago, but what were the games out of reach? And a guy like Tyler Crow is obviously doing some things in the running game. He's your second leading rusher, but he hasn't really had any opportunities, when the score was still in doubt, I guess, so to speak. How do you evaluate that? And is he a guy with his style and stuff that maybe deserves more of a look earlier in games?
That's a tough one, BJ, because I think when you're in the 4-minute offense, you're going to be in some different run sets and some different formational things, and the defenses are going to be doing things differently than they would do in the middle of the game. But I was super proud of our 4-minute offense and how our guys did line up and just pound the rock and got a couple first downs. And our goal is always to have the ball and keep the ball at the end of the game. I think that Crow's got a good role on what he does. Just like I think Van Buren's got a really important role. I mean, that dude in the short yardage goal line is pretty impressive with what he's been able to accomplish. So hopefully what we try to do is just give everyone a role and everyone a niche that they can be successful at. Just like George is going to get most of the carries during the game, but we feel like George has earned that too, right? Just like Crow has earned those carries at the end of the game because of what him and Andrew can bring in short yardage goal line situations. So I think what Crow has proved, BJ, is that when we put him in there, he's going to do it the best he can and do the things that we're asking him to do. And if that role grows, it'll grow. But I do know whatever role he's in, he's thriving in it, whether that's special teams or short yardage or whatever we're using him as.
And final one for me, and I hate to single out, a guy for something negative, but there were obviously some issues with the snaps in the last game. There were 2 where it didn't look like Hank was even ready. At least 2 that he bobbled. There were several others, way above his head. What can be done at this point in the season with the snapping, and how big of a concern is that to you?
Huge concern. Definitely, I would say when the game ended, that was the first thing that we talked about as an offensive staff. We got to get that fixed. I mean, that's just, even going back to the UCF game, how many issues we had with that. And so we believe in Dante, and he's a guy that bleeds blue, and we're going to, work on his fundamentals and technique to get to the bottom of kind of what's going on there with the snaps. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on with a center on every play, making calls, stances, seeing the defense, but starts first and foremost with the snap. So that's definitely something we're going to work hard to get figured out this week, because we can't be dealing with those kind of issues. And Hank made some tremendous plays and showed some tremendous composure in those situations. I mean, the one on our own 1 yard line is really a game-saving play when he caught that ball and got the ball to Davis. I thought that was one of the bigger plays in the game, but we don't want to be doing that consistently, BJ. We got to get that fixed for sure.
Appreciate it, Tim.
Thanks, man.
Rick, Will, and Mike.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Rick.
Let's talk about Nevada. This is a team that's looked pretty good at times this year. Good win for them over Cal. Talk to us about Nevada. What's their defense look like? How are you going to take these guys on?
Yeah, I think they're a really well-coached unit. They got a lot of confidence in what they're doing defensively right now. I think they're in the top, if not the top 10, top 20 in sacks. So they're creating a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they're really good against the pass. I think they're ranked also in the top 20 or top 10 against the pass. So we're going against an elite unit, a really good defense. Obviously, they got a really good offense and a really good quarterback too. So we got our hands full this week. But I think, this conference is pretty dang talented. Utah State was undefeated and beat a Pac-12 team. And now we're going to play another great team that beat a Pac-12 team. So we know what we're up against. It's going to be a great challenge where we're looking forward to it.
You're getting thrown into a rivalry game here. I mean, even when you were at UC Davis, you look up the freeway a little bit up there at those guys in Reno. So how does it feel to get thrown into a rivalry game like this? And what do you think about it?
Yeah, that's college football, right, Rick? I mean, that's why we do this, is to be part of these special games. I know Coach Miller and Coach Venable are bringing me up to speed on the amount of emotions that go into this rivalry. And it obviously is an important game to everybody. And but that's cool, man. That's college football. I'm expecting to have obviously a great crowd and a lot of support. And our guys are really fired up to be back home and get back on the winning side here on the blue.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey, Tim, how important is John Ojukwu to your unit's success, and how would you describe his work ethic on and off the field?
Yeah, if not the most important guy on offense, he's right there. I think he's had a great year just with what he's been able to do, and from a leadership standpoint, he's getting better every week. He's one of those guys like that. We always say, "Are you willing to take your cool shoes off? Like, are you going to do the right thing? Are you going to do the cool thing?" And a lot of guys, 18 to 22, and I'll be the first to admit too, for me, like when I was 18 to 22, I'm going to do the cool thing. You know what I mean? But like if OJ's not in a drill, right? If you guys came out to practice and saw like a practice and maybe the second unit's in there and they're doing some reps, OJ is standing 10 yards away, lined up in his stance, going full speed, right? As if he's running the play. And if we're like, "Hey, OJ, we're going to take you out for," it's like he's going to get into a WWE wrestling match every time you try to get him out of a rep. He's just got a relentless drive to be really good. And that is trickling down to other players on offense. So that's what makes him so monumental in what we're doing. It's just his ability to bring his attitude and his work ethic to everybody else. And that's what makes him a special player.
What did you think of CT's performance Saturday?
Yeah, it was great to get him going. I know that obviously he's had a great career here. And for whatever reason, again, not by design, things just hadn't gotten to him. We had dropped a couple balls, but thought we did a good job getting him involved, and we want to get him involved as much as we can. So I was happy to see him get some touches and some big plays and got him on the sweeps. And that, I know he's returning kicks again. So I think, again, everyone's kind of starting to get more rhythm in what we're doing offensively. And I think we had 9 different rushers and 9 different guys catch a pass or something like that. I mean, to me, that's beautiful football. If we can get everybody involved and everyone feels a part of it, super, super important. So hopefully we can give them the ball even more. That's the hope, Will.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim, now that you've added this extra little running element to Hank Bachmeier's game, you talked about protecting him? And I know you've been talking about protecting him from day one, because that's been an issue from day one. How do you coach protection to a quarterback?
Well, it starts with him understanding the protections, Mike. You know, a lot of college programs, they don't ask the quarterback to be in charge of the protections. They have the center and the O-line manage all the protections. And they do that to take more off of his plate. We don't do that here. So he's in charge of the protection. So anytime there's a free hitter or things like that, that's on him. That's not on the O-line. And so that allows him to be aware of the issues up front in protection. And hopefully he knows where things are hot and where things are supposed to come from, so he can hold the offensive line and everybody accountable. The second part of that is teaching them how to get through a progression and get the ball out on time, because that's when quarterbacks are going to get hit. When they hold on to the ball too long, that's when they get hit. And that's really been his issue in the past, is him holding on to the ball too long. And then lastly, when they do become a runner, understanding that part of their position grading and part of their leadership is that they can't take hits. So they've been given the opportunity as quarterbacks to slide, and they will allow them not to get hit. So we got to use that rule, get out of bounds and not take direct hits. And if you look at guys like Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray and guys that run all the time, they seem to never get hit, right? And so there's a part of that he has to take responsibility and try to keep as many of those hits down, especially if we're going to use him in the running game.
You guys have talked a lot about, you and your offensive staff are juggling like crazy on the offensive line, Monday through Friday, in games on Saturday. How frustrating is that? And how close are you to what you think should be your dependable starting 5 offensive linemen?
Yeah, I think it's, there's a positive and a negative, Mike. The positive is guys are getting an opportunity to play. And if they get an opportunity to play, then they're going to develop meaningful reps that'll hopefully improve their game. But the negative, obviously, is offensive line is one of those position groups that if you can have a consistent communication with a consistent group, you're going to have more success. And unfortunately, we've just had some injuries and consistently can't keep guys healthy right now. And so when that happens, there's going to be a lot of shifting and moving going on. And but like I was telling you guys before, Mike, every team is young, thin, and beat up. Like if you ask every coach, he's like, oh, man, we got a lot of young guys. We're really beat up. We're thin. Everyone says the same thing. It's not an excuse. We got to figure out a way to get the guys out there that can help us win. And so we'll keep doing everything we can to get the right guys out there. And if it's 5, 6, 7, 8 different guys, we'll do whatever we need to do to win that game that week. And then we'll come back on Sunday and see who made it out.
Tim, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Bob, John, and Matt.
Coach, every team seems to do something unique, unlike the pros where it seems like everything's kind of the same. So what makes Nevada's defense unique, and what do they do best?
Well, I think one of the things that makes them a good defense is they are simplistic in nature, but that allows them to make every look the same. And that's kind of what a good and the defenses I've gone against that have been always the best are the guys that they don't do a whole bunch, but the things that they do, they all look exactly the same. And I think if you can create that defensively, then you're going to create a lot of hesitation from the quarterback spot. And that's really what all defenses are trying to do, is make that guy hesitate. And I think they've been able to do that a lot. And that's what's gotten them a lot of sacks, is the quarterback just being unsure of what he's seeing because everything looks the same. So they've done a great job of creating a system where their guys can play really confidently, because it's not a lot of stuff, but they do it all really, really well, and it all looks the same. So it's tough for the quarterback.
You've played quarterback and you've coordinated. When you have a quarterback that will run some, I'm not talking about somebody that's going to, run it all the time, but somebody that's going to run some, what does that do to the defense?
Oh, it is a great equalizer. And in the shotgun offense, if you can't run your quarterback, Bob, it just makes things start to stack up against you, because the defense knows he's not going to run. So they can almost X him out of the run fit. And that's why you have to run so many RPOs and throw the football when they stack with those numbers instead of running the football. But then, like you guys have seen, then we end up throwing the ball way more than we want to, because they're going to force us to throw it knowing that he can't run. So whenever you have a quarterback that can run and be a serious threat, then the defense has to make a decision on how they want to add into the run fit, whether that's, usually what you're going to have to do is you're going to come out of a 1-high defense and you're going to have to add that extra safety into the run fit. And that obviously, if you get an extra safety down the run fit, then the wide receivers are going to have a chance to go over the top. So just the amount of looks that you're going to see, it's going to be simplified. And that's why, in college over the 10, 20 years, you've seen those guys that can run, and what that does to a defense. It makes things really difficult. The negative to that, Bob, as we know, is every time the quarterback takes a hit, you run the risk of that being the last hit he's going to take. And so you just got to try to manage that the best you can.
Thanks, Coach.
Neighbor, thank you.
Hey, Coach. Was Kent Riddle in the booth to replace you? Is that how they switched it?
Yep, Coach Ridd was in the booth. Yep.
How did that help? I would imagine if there's a guy you'd want in the booth, it'd be Riddle. He's just seen everything and he's been everywhere. How did that help, having Riddle kind of be your eyes up top? Because you're now on the sideline.
Yeah, I think everything you said, John, is right on. Coach Avalos talked to the offensive staff. We kind of bounced a couple ideas around on what we thought would work. But just like you said, a guy that's been around the game as long as he has, coached a lot of different positions, seen a lot of football. He has the ability to see the whole field. And so he can give me the information that I would probably get myself if I was up there. He did a tremendous job giving us the information we needed throughout the game. And a lot of that was our second half. John, we'd struggled in the second half, as you guys know. And, we've been working all last week on how can we get better in the third quarter? How can we get off to a better start? And a lot of that is just in-game communication. And still didn't score as many points as we could have in the third quarter there, but did move the ball with more consistency. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Jay, we have time for one quick question if you have it. All right, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
Recording stopped.
Just keep it at Ron, J, BJ to start. Let's go 2 questions to start, and then if we have time for follow-ups, we'll come back around.
Great kid. All right, guys. Here's Spencer.
Thank you. What's up, guys?
Recording in progress.
Hey, what's up, Spence?
How you guys doing?
So Spencer, you look at this secondary, and I mean, even as big as JL and Tyreek are, with you guys replacing both cornerbacks, I don't think many people thought that was going to be the strength of your defense this year. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you look at this secondary, and they've more than doubled their interception output from last season already. What is different about this group of guys this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been so cool to see him grow, and obviously, just like anything, after a loss or after a win, there's still so much that we are excited to keep taking steps in, Ron. You know what I mean? It's always that, the saying is, you lose a game, it's never as bad as you think. And then you win a game, it's never as good as you think, type of a deal. So I'm excited for our guys to keep taking steps. That whole group, man, I mean, they come to work every day, and cool to see them start to see their hard work paying off. And just like anything, I mean, us coaches are going to keep showing them how to continue to prep and grow and how they're ready to play these games. But I really, just like the rest of our guys, I still think that our best football is in front of us if we continue to grow it. But those guys are doing some really good things, and I'm proud of them. And I'm also proud of them to stay humble and hungry and keep growing.
And I know you guys were going with like a 6 DB set to match Utah State splits on Saturday, but I feel like we saw DJ Schramm in at linebacker almost as much as we saw Riley Wimpy. Was Wimpy on some sort of snap count, or is that just a product of Schramm earning more playing time?
Yeah, it was just a package deal that we were using for Utah State. It had nothing to do with any of the fact that DJ's done some really good things, and having him kind of work in the rotation was really all it was. I mean, Riley feels great, and he did some really good things when he was in, but just trying to kind of keep that dependable depth growing. And DJ did some good things, and so he got some reps on Saturday and did some good things with it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ron.
Let's go, Spencer.
What's up, Jay?
I mean, Spencer, at this point in time, how concerned are you that you're going to lose Scott Matlock to the offense?
There's no doubt. It was funny, Jay. Like, up in the box, watching the play go down, and I'm like, oh, Scotty's wide open. And then they throw it to him, and I'm like, oh no. And then he catches it, and I see I've never seen the defensive side of the sideline more excited than I did when Scott Matlock caught that touchdown. So it's just the camaraderie that comes through that. And it was a great play call by Coach Plough. And it was just cool to see Scott do that. And he's been working it, through fall camp, through the whole time. And cool seeing him catch that one on game day was awesome.
I know, whatever, sometimes stats don't tell the whole story and all that. I get that. JL has been tremendous. I mean, he is second in the country in tackles per game right now. It goes back. I mean, would you want your safety second in the country in tackles per game? Is JL special, or do other things have to happen to maybe knock down that total a little bit?
No, our defense is really, the boundary safety is going to make a lot of tackles and how we set up, our defense here. It's been that way for years. I'm not taking anything away from JL. He's done some phenomenal things. He's obviously does some things in the field. You're like, that's a special young man. But just like anything, him, our secondary, our linebackers, our D-line, our entire defense is, there's some really good things on Saturday. I'm really proud of those guys, but there is a lot that we still need to continue to grow in, to continue to be the defense that I believe we can be. Same with JL. I mean, he's done some awesome things through these first 4 games. But it's awesome to see him keep taking steps to grow. And as he does that, once again, I just continue to believe that his best football is in front of him.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Jeff.
Spencer, I know you guys are obviously getting a lot of turnovers and you're limiting teams' points, but it still seems like the explosive plays at times is an issue, especially in a game like this where they've got some explosive players on offense. I mean, how important is it to try to start limiting some of the big plays?
Oh, it's huge, BJ. I mean, to your point, we gave up too many yards, and it's on explosive plays. There's the run pass explosive plays really was what hurt you in those yardage situations. And I'm proud of our guys and how they responded when those came up, either in the red zone or what have you. But we can't give those up. And looking at the schematics of it, looking at how we're teaching some of those things to help limit those is crucial, because we can't give up that many explosive plays. You're 100% right. And so going back to the drawing board and looking at, how we're teaching things and making sure we're putting our players in the best situations, and then making sure we take time with the fundamentals and technique of our scheme to make sure our guys can execute to where we're not giving those up is crucial, because you're 100% right. We can't give up those explosive plays, and we're going to continue to grow that.
It says in the game notes that Joe sends out every week that you are the third youngest defensive coordinator in the country. What I know we've talked to you about your quick rise and stuff, before, but what's this like to be 32 years old and be the defensive coordinator running a defense for a program like Boise State? You just think about what your dreams were as a growing up or when you got into coaching or whatever, but to be where you are right now at 32, the third youngest defensive coordinator in the country, I think seventh youngest coordinator on either side of the ball. What's that mean to you?
No, I appreciate it, BJ. I mean, first and foremost, obviously very humbled to be here. I thank the good Lord every single day because it is a huge blessing for me. And I tell my players this, and obviously you guys know this, like I love this place. I love Boise State, love working for Coach Avalos and being here. And so, I mean, it's a dream come true for me, BJ. Really one of those things you end up pitching yourself every morning because of the kids I'm around, this place. Wouldn't want to be any other place in the country. And I really do mean that. And that's, and I think a lot of people can say that, but in this business, so many people want to jump around and move. And I don't know what the good Lord has for me and my family, but I love being here, man. And it's just coming to work every day to see our players who want to work, love football, are tough, are disciplined. It's just a huge blessing. Being in the seat I am, I'm extremely thankful. I'm the product of a lot of people taking time to help me grow and still am. I mean, I pick more people's brain on a daily basis, either here or outside of this facility than anybody, because just like we tell our players, like you were saying, Ron, is there are some really good things that we did on Saturday, but a lot of things we got to clean up, me included. And you're always kind of going through that list of growth and what we can improve on. And that's where it always comes back to us, that humble and hungry. But, I'm just so thankful to be in the seat I am and so humbled by it. And like I said, it truly is a dream come true for me to be here and excited just to continue to help these players grow, to really learn what it means to work hard and achieve things in football, because it's going to be no different when it's life for them.
Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, BJ.
John, Bob, Mike.
Spencer, we talked about the interceptions and 7 on the season so far. Coming into this season, we didn't know much about Kane Ione, and we knew a lot about Giron, but not as the coach. How much have they been responsible for the way the secondary is playing this year, man?
Oh, they're doing an awesome job. Coach JJ, Coach Ione are doing a phenomenal job with the secondary. Coach Collins, we kind of break all our emphasis up into, a certain coach has an emphasis, and Coach Collins and Coach Johnson really focus on the takeaways, even though our whole staff focus on it. And he's just done a great job bringing emphasis to it, creating habits in practice. But Coach JJ and Coach Ione have done a great job with our secondary. And I know, just like the other coaches on our staff, Coach Miley, myself, is just looking at the things, praising the habits that our guys are doing that are promoting these takeaways, but also using, a microscope to look at the things that didn't go our way or things that we did not do well and getting those fixed. Because you guys know, winning can be a great deodorant to where you're like, oh, we won, everything's great. But if you don't fix those problems, especially in the wins, they will come back, and they will come back in a major way. And so I'm very, like I said, proud of our guys. And that's what I told them this morning, very proud of them, but I'm also very paranoid at the fact that there's some things that we need to continue to grow in across the board. And we need to, especially coming this Saturday and obviously down the stretch.
It's tough coming back from an injury. I get it, but I'm sure Dimitri Washington isn't where he wants to be statistically. Maybe he's not where you expected him to be. Could you talk about what's going on with Dimitri? I remember last year you were saying this kid's got an NFL future, and maybe he still does. But what's up with the slow start? We just don't see Dimitri out there making plays as much as we're used to seeing.
Yeah, no, and I still really do believe that's in his future if he continues to grow. I really do. And to your point, coming off the injury that he had against Air Force last year, it was a brutal injury. And, he's one of the hardest workers on our entire team. And he wore our trainers out for 8, 9, 10 months to get back to where he can go through fall camp, to be able to play in these games. But I think just like anything, it takes some time to really get your body back to be explosive enough to be able to make the plays you need to, especially at that position. He's one of the smartest football players that we have on our team, but still getting your body to be able to react the way you need to, especially on the edge and what we have our edge players do. It's such a dynamic position for our defense to where, everything really rolls around how dynamic those guys can be, from how they rush the passer to how they drop to how they set edges in the run game. And he's taken a lot of steps from game one to now. And I'm excited just to see him continue to get healthy, continue to feel extremely confident on that knee. And I really believe we're going to see his production rise. But like I said, he's handling his business here in the facility and how he preps. And I just know little by little his body is going to continually meet him there, and the production is going to be there.
Thanks, Spence.
Thanks, John.
Let's talk a little bit about Carson Strong. What makes him a good quarterback, and what concerns you most about playing him?
Yeah, I mean, Carson Strong, there's projected one of the top picks in the 2022 NFL draft, if not the number one overall. And you can see it. I mean, he can make every throw. He's patient in the pocket. I mean, you get him off his spot with pressures and he can still, make that deep comeback on the far hash. I mean, he's an NFL arm talent, and I'm obviously not the only one saying that. And so, just doing a lot of things to combat that's going to be crucial. And the thing about it too, I mean, I think Carson Strong is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, but he has some weapons around him that are extremely dynamic as well. And my hat's off to Coach Norvell and the offensive staff that, they also, got some big tailbacks. They do a good job mixing up the run game. They got some long tight ends that can run. And obviously they got some receivers, number 7 just being one of them, that can absolutely go. And they will run past whoever's covering them. At least they've shown that on film. And Carson Strong can make all those throws. And no matter what, you can see him in the competitor he is, and he's making those throws in the first quarter. And if he doesn't make them, he's going to make them the next time he gets a shot at it. And so, like I said, I've never met him one time in my life, but I feel he's a competitor and a leader. And I can see why he gets the accolades he's getting.
And then success this past week and really throughout the season defending in the red zone. So why do you guys think you've been pretty good in the red zone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of our guys and how they respond in the red zone. I think it goes to a lot of things, just our guys just continuing to stay in the fight and knowing that even though you get down there, our big mentality in the red zone is 3 or nothing. We want to keep guys to field goals and keep them out of the end zone no matter what happens. And no different than any other defensive play. You're always responding to either a good play or a bad play, and how you respond is everything. And if it's an explosive play that we gave up to get us down there, it could be something happened with special teams or offense. Regardless, you have to respond because you got down there for a reason. Something didn't go your way, and that's why the offense is in the red zone. And so teaching our guys that mentality and understanding where they're being attacked. And I believe our coaches have done a good job just training our team and understanding what an offense has when they get down the red zone. But at the end of the day, our players have made plays when they needed to. And is it perfect? By no means. Still a lot of growth even down there in that area of the field, but it's been awesome to see our guys respond down there and making those stops in the red zone was crucial in that game and is going to continue to be crucial going forward.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.
Hey, Spencer, the explosive plays have come up several times today. What do you see when you look at the film? What are the trends? What's happening?
Yeah, I think it's obviously with explosive plays, for me, first and foremost, it comes down to, communication and eye control. Either an explosive pass play, could be, my eyes weren't where they should be in coverage. Maybe something wasn't communicated the right way in coverage that, someone's running loose. It could also just be lack of fundamentals and technique. I know on Saturday there were some missed tackles that created a lot of explosive run plays. There was some missed run fits that created explosive run plays. And there were some pass techniques that we didn't handle the right way that created explosive pass plays. So it's a couple different things. First and foremost, it comes to our communication and our eye control. And then it comes down to everybody just doing their job. And at the end of the day, just us as coaches, obviously always falls on us, is making sure we put our guys in those situations in practice and so they can execute it at a higher level than they have been, because we've given up too many explosive plays, and that needs to change. And I really am excited to continue to grow this with our defense. And that's my message to them. Our message to the coaches too is just, we love where we're at. We love that we have the opportunity to help our guys grow. And that's why we do what we do. You're never going to come into a situation where all right, guys, everything's good. Have a fun rest of your week. We'll see you on Saturday. You know what I mean? That's not what this is. And that's never what life is going to be. And And so we do have some challenges in front of us, especially some challenges that we've created in regards to the explosive plays that we've let up, and we need to be better. And it starts with me and making sure that our emphasis is on point, and making sure our eyes are in the right place, and making sure our fits are right, and getting our guys enough reps so when it does come down to the game day, we can execute.
How much of an emphasis will tackling be in practice this week as opposed to normal practices throughout the week?
Oh, it's going to be another huge emphasis this week. Our tackling the past 2 weeks has not been what we want it to be, and it needs to continue to grow. And you see some steps of it throughout the game, but then there's plays where it shows up where, we're high, we're reaching, we're bouncing off tacklers because our eyes are down. And so it will always be an emphasis, because for us, that's pursuit, tackling, and takeaways is where great defense is, where all of it is. The scheme and all that is a part of it, but if you can't get to the football, you can't tackle, and you don't take the ball away, you're not going to be good on defense. And so we will always rep those three things, and tackling is going to be a huge emphasis this week, regardless who we play. If it's Nevada or we play Air Force, it's going to be a huge emphasis.
Let's appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Spence, 4 games into the season, in regards to Tyreek LaBeouf, what have you been most pleased with?
Man, it's been awesome to see Tyreek grow, and you guys have met him before. He's a phenomenal young man, always has a smile on his face, and especially see, with the corners we lost last year, seeing him kind of step into this role, and Coach JJ and Coach Iona have done a great job continually help him grow with his techniques. But it's just been cool to see him get the production that he has, and even it was funny talking to him this morning, just seeing the look in his eyes, like, Coach, it was some good things this on Saturday, but I still got a lot to grow in. And just seeing that mentality with him and with the rest of our defense is crucial, because it's so true. And it's just that fine line between, man, you did a really good job in these areas. I'm proud of you, but let's be hungry to grow in these things, which we need to, especially so that you can be the player you need to be and the player that we need you to be on this defense. So, I've been very proud of him. I'm obviously very excited to see where he can grow to as he continues to clean up his techniques and continue to be consistent, but extremely proud of him and the plays he's made, and we're going to need him to continue to do that.
We saw Ahmed get some meaningful snaps on Saturday. You think about the position he plays, going up against grown men every single snap. To be a true freshman, how tough is that?
Oh, it's tough. And Ahmed is a phenomenal young man. It's funny. His brother and I played college football together at Azusa Pacific. And so, through the recruiting process, his brother is kind of the one that told me about him. And, and I'm not going to get into his story a ton right now, but, didn't play a lot of football growing up. He's originally from Egypt. And just seeing him grow and understanding the game of football, and as Coach Miley teaches him and as we work with him, it's just been so cool to see him grow and how he understands the game, because he is such a diligent worker, comes to work every day, regardless of the time, works his absolute tail off. Goes hard no matter what. He's that guy that you have to be like, Ahmed, we got to slow it down here because you're going to hurt somebody, because he's just full speed all the time. And that's what you love as a coach. And he's humble and hungry to learn. So I'm just excited to see him continue to grow, especially as a true freshman playing. And, Coach Kagan, our strength staff, has done a great job with him and seeing his body develop. He's an extremely explosive, strong young man. And as he continues to learn the game, I just believe his production, his play is going to go through the roof, and excited for his future here.
Thanks, Spence.
Thanks, Will.
Ron, we'll finish with your follow-up.
You mentioned your red zone defense earlier. You guys have only given up 5 red zone touchdowns all season. You guys held Utah State to 104 on red zone scoring opportunities on Saturday. I'm curious, what effect does it have on an offense when they drive the length of the field and come away with no points?
Well, it's huge, Ron. It's the difference between, winning and losing football games, because at the end of the day, we do not want to give up the yards we gave up on Saturday by no means. We do not want to give up the explosive plays we did by any means. But at the end of the day, as long as you can finish in the red zone and keep teams to field goals and keep them out of the end zone, you're always going to have a chance. That doesn't mean that you're going to win every game you play, because you shouldn't be getting down there as much as we have, but it gives you a shot to always win those football games, and getting down there and having that mentality and understanding how an offense is attacking you in the red zone and seeing our guys make those plays. And it's huge. It's the difference in winning in football and winning and losing football games, especially down the stretch. So it's going to be a huge point of emphasis for us, because just like everything else, it was not perfect on Saturday. There's some really good things, some things that we're proud of, but there are also some snaps too that, we got to grow in, and our guys need to be able to see better, and we need to teach it better. And so excited to take those steps.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Spencer.
Recording stopped.
Sorry about the Jayhawks. See you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you. I'll have these to you right now.